Good morning. It's Book Saturday. 2 of the 5 books I'm going to be talking about this morning. Welcome to Coffee with Alain. Of course, I have my book mug because it is books and reading for the topic today. And interestingly enough, literally just 2 minutes ago, right before I started this live, I was on my phone scrolling through a little bit of Facebook, and I saw a friend of mine, Ken McKenzie, a Hapkido instructor out east, fantastic instructor, and he posted about a Hardy Boys book that he shared with one of the young students, encouraging them to read and encouraging reading as something that can do so much for you. And I remember the Hardy Boys books when I was really little. Devoured the Alfred Hitchcock and the 3 investigator books, which are sort of similar to the Hardy Boys. And when I got all done with those, that's when that teacher showed me my first Tarzan, and I started the Edgar Rice Burroughs and then Conan and kept going from there. We must encourage our young folks to read. And while I always tell people I don't care how you read, paper books, which I prefer, ebooks, which I read a lot on my Kindle as well, listening to audiobooks, I do that too. I think especially for younger people, we should encourage them to read some paper and get off the phones, get off the things that might be distracting, because you could switch from your book to something else, and learn to read a good old paper book. It'd be so good. I know we did that with my daughter. And now she reads a lot, and she reads a lot with her Kindle and electric books too. But getting her started on paper, and now she reads a lot of both. And I don't think it's a coincidence of where she's at now, that some of it was due to learning to read and devour books at a young age. So good for you. So the books this week, the first 2 I'm going to talk about, I held up a minute ago. We have Rogue Warrior 2, Red Cell by Richard Marcinko, and Green Team by Richard Marcinko. This is the second, and this is the third book. Now, Rogue Warrior, the original first book, that was an autobiography where he talked about his time in the military and the SEALs and starting SEAL Team 6, and even the troubles he got into and ended up going to prison for a year. Talked about all of that kind of stuff in the autobiography. Rogue Warrior 2, Red Cell, is a novel. Green Team is a novel. And he wrote a series of these. I have a bunch of them back here, and I'm rereading them before I donate them. I have a bunch in hardcover, and then I have a lot in paperback. I'm going to reread them, donate them. They're fun, quick, easy reads, full of action, full of swear words. If you don't like cussing and killing, you're not going to like these books. If you like military stories with killing and action and cussing, you'll enjoy these. They're fun. And what I like about it is he writes it in his first person, and he even goes back and he talks about real things. So sometimes it's hard to tell what's true and what's not in some of these books. They are novels, obviously, but some of the stuff he puts in them are based on fact. And some of the history of when he talks about himself or other people, he may have changed the names, but he's talking about real stuff. Now, I never got a chance to meet Dick before he passed away. I did meet Chris Karachi, who was one of the SEAL Team 6 members and worked with him, but I never got a chance to meet him. But very interesting person. The original Rogue Warrior biography, very interesting, good book. And these novels are fun, interesting, good books as well. Before we get to the next book, I'm going to say good morning to Kellen. Alan Brees, you've been a huge influence in the new books that I read. Well, I'm glad, Kellen. I try to share things that I've enjoyed or not enjoyed sometimes, and let people know about them. And if you don't want to read what I read, that's fine. Maybe seeing what I read will motivate people for something else, which is just as good. As long as you're reading something that you enjoy and that you can learn from. Those are the important things. Next book, I did enjoy quite a bit. I've been a wrestling fan for years, not a die-hard wrestling fan, but I've enjoyed it as a kid, enjoyed it, my whole life. And every once in a while, I'll watch a match now. So reading My Life Outside the Ring by Hulk Hogan was a good read, interesting read to learn his story. I really liked the beginning. I like the middle of the book where he's talking about his journey and what he went through to obtain success in the professional wrestling. The end of the book, he talks more about the accident that his son was in, and his son went to prison for a year because of that accident. He discussed the troubles with his wife, his first wife, and the divorce that he and Linda went through shortly after the reality TV show Hogan Knows Best. They divorced, and it was fairly public and messy. And he talked about those kind of things, and then he talked about how he got out of the depression that he was in and got more positive. Some of that involved things with The Secret, the book and the video, The Secret, that was very popular a number of years ago. Some of that involved going back to church for Hogan. I didn't enjoy that part of the book because, and I don't care about his divorce and some of that. I do like that he tried to make it a very positive message, though he didn't just go into, bashing his ex-wife or anything. He was very positive about things. And I think he was trying to share the lessons to help people. I just enjoyed the first part of the book, how he was struggling and got into the wrestling and succeeded in that. He even talked about the steroid thing that went on back then and so forth. So he was pretty forthcoming and let people know, hey, this is what happened. These are the good and the bad. And so I really respected it and liked it for that. I know that he recently just remarried. I think he's 70 now. And in this book, he had just met her. And I think they just got married, which I'm glad that he found happiness and is still going successful, because he did have some pretty bad periods. I mean, to the point where he was contemplating suicide. That's how bad it got for Hogan. And you think, wow, somebody that rich and successful and popular, yeah, they go through troubles too. So in that aspect, really good to see that those kind of things can happen to all of us. And maybe some of the suggestions and things that helped him could help you. And one of the things that really helped him was Muhammad Ali's daughter. She helped him, and he credits her for a phone call and helping him as well get through some of the bad times. So really did enjoy this book. Dixon says, rest in peace, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Piper was one of my favorites of the professional wrestlers. He, fought against Hogan and teamed up with Hogan at different times. And Piper definitely passed too soon, cancer. He made some great movies that I enjoyed. They Live, an all-time classic science fiction action movie. And I liked Piper in the Ring too. Thanks for bringing him up, Dixon. Next book on the list, The Ultimate Fit or Fat by Covert Bailey. An older fitness book I had on the shelf. Wanted to quickly read through it before I put it in the donation pile. All of these books this week are books that I've recently just finished and are going in the donation pile. I like Covert Bailey. His books were very simple, easy to understand, direct and straight to the point. It was interesting to notice on Goodreads some of the negative reviews that he had for fat shaming and some of this, because of his blunt, direct, hey, if you got this much body fat, you're fat, you need to lose it. It's going to be healthier and so forth if you do. And he's got a point. And so it was very exercise oriented, not diet. He has some other books that are more on eating. This one had very little to do with eating. He basically said, what we're going to worry about right now is exercise. And if you exercise, that's how you're going to get fit and more healthy. And the eating is a side thing of it. And so I enjoyed it. Some of the stuff was for elderly and people that were very out of shape, telling them to cautiously go slower to get into it. I like that he encourages high intensity exercise, but he explains that to your fitness level. Somebody that is extremely out of shape, maybe adding a little hill in their walk is high intensity for them. Somebody in better shape, they need to be out doing wind sprints or win sprints on a bicycle or something like that and get better shape. So I did like a lot of it. And it's a motivating book if you don't mind his direct, like, if you're fat, lose it kind of attitude. That's what he has. He's not PC. So enjoyed it. It was a quick little motivation. You keep on exercising, stay in shape, especially as you get older. And the last book for today, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, this was written by Campbell Black, but it was based on the screenplay by Lawrence Kasdan, which was based on the story created by George Lucas and Phyllis Kaufman. And then, obviously, the movie was made by Lucas and Steven Spielberg. This novel came after the story and screenplay, so it follows exactly what the movie is. It wasn't that this book was first and then they made the movie. George Lucas had the idea, then they got the screenplay written. This was written after the fact, so it follows exactly like the movie. If you enjoyed the movie and you want a written part of it, you'd enjoy the book, and that's what I did. I've had this on the shelf for years and years. Obviously, it's an old book, and I decided to read it again. I read it way, way, way back, right when the movie came out and the book came out, and it's been on the shelf ever since. Decided to read it again. I'm an Indiana Jones fan. It was a fun, quick little read, and now it's going in the donation pile, so maybe somebody else can enjoy it that's an Indiana Jones fan. So those are the books this week. Went through them sort of quick because I had a lot of books and don't like to make these shows too awful long. But to recap, Raiders of the Lost Ark, fun novelization based on the movie screenplay. Follows exactly what the movie was. Fun book. Ultimate Fit or Fat, good guide to tell you to get off your butt and exercise and get in shape. My Life Outside the Ring by Hulk Hogan. Good book if you want to know about Hogan's life and his path towards success and some really bad things that happened to him, how he got out of those bad things and is now back, happier and succeeding and doing well. So it had some motivational stuff, some educational stuff, and just an interesting story of someone had a pretty interesting life. Green Team and Red Cell, the first two novels by Richard Marcinko in a string of a long line of them. These two were both done with John Weisman. He did change co-authors throughout the series, but these first couple he did with Weisman. Fun, action-packed, military, type. So if you like killing and cussing and action, that's what these are about. Fun little novels to read. Maybe there's something on that list you'd like to read. Maybe not. Regardless, get out, read a book, listen to an audiobook, take your Kindle along, easier to carry. All 5 of these books that fit in something that thin with 1,000 more, right? That's why I do like Kindle when I'm traveling. Everybody go out, make it a spectacular Saturday, and we'll see you tomorrow.